Hey minions, welcome to Crank It Up. I'm Jim Price, and it's Halloween today, so it seemed like a good opportunity to talk about the Slashers faction by Chuckyscookie. I'm going to use this faction as a prototype for sharing the images, so you will find a link in the description to the custom faction, for both printing cards and Tabletop Simulator. If that works well for most viewers, then I will use that as a template for the other custom factions, as I was given cards of several different sizes and they need to be standardized across the game. The Slashers want to destroy minions, as it's in their nature to hunt their prey, but we've done destruction a lot. We've even done minions who destroy themselves. But a faction who actually wants to destroy their own minions, and does it well? That would be new, and that is the direction of the Slashers. I really appreciate the dichotomy of the faction, as there are 10 minions divided into 2 halves, but still equaling 30 power. There are 5 4-powered minions who are the classic Slashers. They want to destroy your own minions for powerful effects. The other 5 minions are 2-powered minions who are their targets and want to be destroyed. It's interesting because for the faction to work, you need a harmony between both sides. Just having one but not the other severely limits your options or reduces the reward. You're going to see a pattern with the 4-powered Slashers. Many of them target local minions, but have rewards that have global implications. They can only destroy your minions, not those of an opponent. Each of them requires the destruction to occur by linking the destruction to the benefit using the to keyword. If the destruction is ever thwarted, the benefit is as well. This is why one of their double features is so crucial, Not Dead Yet. Not Dead Yet allows you to react to a destruction and save a minion's life, but only after the destruction occurs. And though this is difficult wording, the intent is clear that the destruction actually did occur. You can play it as a simple power boost that also cancels a minion's ability. You could even use it antagonistically like a cuddle. But in general, you would use it to save a minion who had just been destroyed. In the case of the Slasher victims, their on-death ability would still trigger that first time, but it would be cancelled on future attempts. It's somewhat ironic that the Slashers have a toolbox aspect to them, since tools tend to be among their choice of murder weapons, at least from my recollection. The nightmare is your minion search. Searching for minions is powerful, but it comes at the cost of one of your minions. And it can only search for a minion of power 4 or less, so it's unlikely to get your partner's king minion, but you still have a choice of 4s. One of the first that I would search for is the Camper. His one-shot ability lets you destroy a minion to draw a card, which in isolation doesn't sound that great. But it may trigger additional abilities that result in a net positive. But he also functions as an engine, allowing you to draw a card every time one of your minions is destroyed. Given how many of your minions you'll be slashing, you'll want the extra cards. When you need extra minion plays, the Cannibal can allow you to replace a minion with a better one. You have full flexibility on what you play, and the only prerequisite is that the victim must be here. The minion can be played on any base. As you can see, the Slashers start to build on each other. Destroying one minion can have compounding effects depending on who is in play, with the Camper being a large part of that. This is what the vampires should have been. The shape is interesting because it can serve multiple functions. When a minion is destroyed, it can take its place by moving to that base. Additionally, it gets a power counter, but the power counter is independent of the actual move. This works the same way as Brojack, because you have to move to the same base and give it a counter, which is an independent clause. This is an important distinction because the shape himself can destroy one of your minions on its base, so you'd want to receive the counter in addition to the other benefits. The final Slasher adds most of your power, the Ghost. Like the others, the Ghost can destroy one of your local minions, but the reward is significant. All of your minions gain a power counter, even those not on the base. Even without the benefit of the victim, this alone can mean that you get a net increase in power if you had enough minions in play. Given that you are likely to lose at least 5 minions to slashing, you need ways to mitigate your losses. I already mentioned Not Dead Yet, but the Final Girl serves a similar purpose. The Final Girl never prevents destruction, but after she is destroyed, you can immediately replay her on another base. Because she is destroyed, she still visits the discard pile and loses any attachment or counters. So what you are left with is a new instance of Final Girl, but at least she is a renewable target. The boyfriend is really interesting because he can either create another slasher or another victim. After he is destroyed, you can search your deck for a minion of power 4 or less. If you choose a minion of power 2 or less, you can play it as an extra minion on any base. So you can choose the victor or the victim. This can create some interesting combos, as you can destroy the boyfriend with the Cannibal to get an extra minion play, which is bankable. The boyfriend can search for a specific victim, which would have to be played immediately since it is a specific card. You could then use the Cannibal's extra minion play to play another slasher to destroy the new victim. This could be a great way to bring out the final girl or trigger multiple benefits in the same turn. The Skeptical Officer is also a great Cannibal target, as you can replace one minion with two. This is a great example of how the normal sting of losing a minion is mitigated by the combination of abilities. In order for the play to work, you need to determine the correct pairing of slasher and victim, and it's a two-step play that requires creative thinking and adaptability. While it's easy to just focus on killing the final girl, you do have to be conscious of where she is, and sometimes the loss of one minion yields a better return than keeping the other alive. That trade-off may be additional cards, such as the reward for destroying the popular ones. This can total 4 cards for the cost of a single minion, plus whatever reward you get for the minion initiating the destruction. If you use Catfight on the minion, you'd get 2 cards, so this murder seems like a steal. But the biggest payoff is perhaps destroying the false suspect, who functions like a better final haiku. After he is destroyed, each of your minions gains +2 power. Anytime there is a fixed global minion boost, it caps out at 2 power per minion, and this comes at a cost. But when combined with the Ghost, these abilities can combine for a global 3 power, which can greatly swing several bases if you set it up appropriately. What we have as a result are plenty of pairings for Stabber and Stabbee, but there are some natural pairings that go together well. The Nightmare to search for your next slasher, while the boyfriend searches for your next victim. The Cannibal and the Skeptical Police Officer combine for the extra minion plays. The Ghost and the False Suspect combine for power. The Camper and the popular ones for mass card draw. The Shape is probably the outlier, as he cannot follow Final Girl, but it is good to have a free target that can trigger the Shape to move while you gain other benefits. Because of these pairings, it's important to have proper cards. The second double feature is Stalk Your Prey, which can search your deck for any minion of power 2 or less. You can save it for later, or play it as an extra minion, which can immediately be destroyed if you have the right slasher in hand. Another way to ensure that you have the proper minions in hand is to use a new friend, the minion form of Monkey See Monkey Do. You can place any number of revealed minions into your hand, and shuffle the rest back into your deck, making sure that you are well stocked for the onslaught that is to come. If you have minions in hand, you need to play them, and while there are benefits to being destroyed, you want to be the one destroying them. Cabin in the Woods helps in both regards, preventing your minions of power 2 or less there from being destroyed, while enabling you to play an extra minion there of the same size. For a self-destruction faction, it's natural to want some recursion. Plans for a sequel can place up to 2 minions of power 4 or less from your discard pile into your hand. This can grab most minions, and while it can grab 2 4s, it's not a guarantee that they will always be the targets, because the 4s need 2s to destroy. So I can definitely foresee grabbing one of the aforementioned pairings, particularly if you have recursion from your partner. Jump Scare is a bit of a desperation card without the right minions in play. You can destroy any number of your minions. If you do, you place a power counter for each minion destroyed. It's like a body shop at a less favorable rate, and one that requires the destruction to occur, but it does offer victims a chance to use their abilities. We Should Split Up is probably my favorite card thematically because it is just hysterical and so true to the movies. You need 2 minions on a base who don't realize there is safety in numbers. One gets moved and the other gets destroyed. Unlike the other cards, there isn't a reward to link to the destruction, so if that minion were to survive, it would just stay put, and this would just be a convoluted move one of your minions card. But the potential is there. The final action is the payoff for destroying so many small minions. Lone Survivor gives a minion +1 power for each minion of power 2 or less in the discard pile. I have a lot of cards in my custom factions that give a minion power based on the discard pile size, and I think it fits here too. Now, there is the potential that this card can be really powerful, particularly with Innsmouth or robots, as Chuckyscookie mentioned, but I'm okay with it for two reasons. First, I like it when factions have a clearly defined endgame that requires a lot of work, most of the time. Second, if you have all of your robots in the discard pile, shouldn't you have won already? This will probably be the most divisive card in the faction, but I think cards should be powerful if you are willing to work for it, and this faction requires a great deal of effort and thoughtful play. Worst case scenario, we could always have the power output. There are a lot of combos that would jump off the page, but as per usual, I don't like to state the obvious unless it's egregious. I prefer more interesting combos that showcase how the faction can be used in different ways. This is a good samurai pairing because the samurai have cards that actually want to die. You can destroy the samurai chens for an additional card, and even trigger final haiku as a result. The bushis might be used to farm VP since you do have minion recursion. You also have yokai attack, which fits naturally with the idea of the victims wanting to be destroyed. I also think that there is something incredibly thematic about dueling a minion at the last second on the last base, only to play Lone Survivor, surge in power, and have that be the difference in the game. Despite their core strategy being misaligned, I do like this combination with the superheroes. The mild-mannered citizens do still have interesting targets to fetch, and Not Really Dead gives the slashers extra recursion for their victims. Awesome Guy fits perfectly into their plans. Though plans for a sequel does not help the superheroes, Golden Age works equally well for the slashers. The Cannibal Skeptical Police Officer play can combine with the Burst for a 3-minion play that can easily steal a base, possibly uncontested. The mild-mannered citizens can trigger some of the destruction benefits as part of their usual routine, and radioactive exposure works well for the victims as it can turn them into slashers or superheroes. The superheroes get some much-needed card draw, and with the Ghost ability to give global power counters, as well as the False Suspect global power boost, everyone can get +3, and if you time it appropriately, +5 with Justice Friends. Spreading out beforehand would allow you to potentially take every base all at once. The ability to trigger your own destruction works well with Minions of Cthulhu as well. Normally, this faction has a tendency to be minion-starved, but with the slashers they have built-in free recursion plans. With all of their extra minion plays, you should be able to get extra actions as well from Altar to Cthulhu. Cabin in the Woods lets you play an extra minion of power 2 or less, which is perfect for the servitor, who can immediately destroy itself to put an action on top of the deck. Because the destruction reactions do not occur until phase 3, the action you place on top would be drawn by the camper. This action could be plans for a sequel, which recurs the servitor and another minion. In fact, if you put Altar to Cthulhu on the Cabin in the Woods base, the recursion happens for free without using any of your regular plays. If you have easy recursion, you can go nuts with stabbing your minions and reuse the same minions over and over again, which is an interesting take on the action recursion nature of the Minions of Cthulhu. I also see the potential in keeping your self-destructive minions around, as they gain power but lose their abilities. The killer plants have some interesting plays using this. A Sprout can fetch another minion, and normally it would be destroyed, but it is replayed instead for more power. And it stops the Sprout from destroying itself further, which greatly helps with the fact that the killer plants run out of minions. I like that the Venus Mantrap can search for a specific victim, particularly one who can grab a specific slasher. There are some plays that won't realize their full potential, but the hope is that the deck thinning and card draw can draw you into a reshuffle. The slashers can build a lot of nuance around destroying their own minions, and I appreciate that the destruction has to occur to prevent you from triggering multiple powerful minions without losing any equity in play. Some might take issue with the wording of not dead yet, but the intent is there and I believe it is conveyed correctly. If I had to nitpick on something, it's that the core idea is a little too self-referential for me, and this is pretty hard for me to explain. When a minion expects to be destroyed, it's a bit of an odd ability, whereas effects that result from leaving play flow a bit more naturally. It's a bit of a paradox for me. I like that the idea is well executed, but I wish the game lent itself to more victims in partner factions that make the appearance of destruction reactions less jarring. When you look at a card like We Should Split Up, there doesn't really seem to be a use case for why a partner would want to use that. Sometimes I think that the samurais don't have enough of a benefit, and I think a melding of the slasher samurai would be an epic faction where the abilities triggered more frequently but were toned down a bit. I do appreciate the self-synergy, and I'd rather err on that side than have a faction who seems solely designed to invoke a partner's abilities. Still, I think that this is a great faction, and one that satisfies an interesting theme for a lot of people. What do you think of the slashers? Let me know in the comments. Happy Halloween, and thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Let's shut it down.